I am Cheryl Richardson, and I'm here for our Facebook Live a couple minutes early. Just thought I would sign on, make sure everything's cool, and say hi to people who show up. It's, let's see, yeah. So, okay, great. It looks like it's working. If you can see me and hear me, just give me a hearts or a thumbs up. I'm in a different location this time in the house. There we go. It looks like it's working. I'm hoping it's working. There we go. I see some hearts, and if somebody could just write in a comment. Yeah, there we go. Hi, Teresa. Thank you. Thanks. You're such a faithful fan, Teresa. You're always showing up at these things, and I appreciate that so much. And hi, Julie from Ontario, Canada, and Helena from Sydney. Sydney, love Sydney. Nikki and Alicia, welcome. And Carmen, hi, Carmen. I was going to say hi, welcome. Hi, Carmen and Erica. It's working, yay. Sinead, welcome. And Alicia, we hear ya. Great, thumbs up, I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. So I'm here for our weekly Facebook Live and looking forward to answering your questions. Hey, Kathy and Marilyn. Looking forward to answering your questions and doing what I can to support you. Oh, there you go, Lee. You're able to attend. There you go. You're welcome. I'm glad you're here. And Nikki from Barcelona. Hi, Nikki. I thought it said barbecue. Nikki from barbecue. Hello from Barcelona. Hola. And Paige from Regina, Canada, and Rachel. Welcome. Welcome. I'm so excited to do these. I really enjoy doing them. So, Norma Jean from New Hampshire, kind of a neighbor, right next door, not that far, because I'm in northern Massachusetts. No, Nancy, Sonia, there's not a special topic. You actually are welcome to ask whatever you'd like. I did post on Facebook just before I started here, just so that some people could post questions in case they weren't able to make it, but I thought I would answer a couple of them right up front so that they can go back and watch this and see, get the answers to their questions right off the bat, and then we shall begin. So I'm just looking, and now I'm going to have a hard time. Let me see if I can do this. I might have a hard time. Well, let me just say, I might have a hard time getting to the questions because I just realized that, oh no, here we are. Sorry. Bear with me, everybody. Still getting used to this. Okay. So, hi, Jessica and Sherry. Yes, you can start. James, glad you're here. I'm glad you're here too, sweetheart. You can start posting your questions. I'll scroll back. I'm just going to answer a couple here that came in on the Facebook post, just alerting people to the fact that I was going to do this, and then I'll get to your questions. So it'll give you some time to go ahead and post questions. Right off the bat, I just want to answer. Rosemary posted a question, said, my mother and my sister are both narcissistic. And right now, I'm the scapegoat of the family. I'm so sorry. That's really tough, Rosemary. I feel that my mother is going to leave my sister the house and everything when she dies. How can I ask to see a copy of the will? My mother is 90 years old. Well, Rosemary, that's a really difficult situation. Not an uncommon one for a lot of people who are dealing with aging parent issues. And there's a couple things I want to say. First of all, this is just my opinion. It's just, based on my own thinking and my own experience. It's not going to be easy to ask to see a copy of the will. When someone creates a will or a trust or any kind of document that talks about what they want to do, what they want done with their assets when they're gone or with their things when they're gone, it's really a personal document, and it's up to that person to decide what they want to do. And it's not really appropriate to ask to see someone's will because, of course, it looks like really all you care about is whether or not you're in it, right? Now, what I know, Rosemary, is that what you care about is something more than that, and that is that, and this is really important for everybody watching, whenever we have a sick family member, an aging parent, whenever we're dealing with somebody who someone in the family, let's say, who is getting older and requires care, and especially when there's sibling rivalry, What happens is everybody goes into a regress state. I've spoken about this on these Facebook Lives many times. People go into a regress state, and suddenly they're not adults dealing with the situation anymore. They're children. So, and this especially can be true for siblings when a parent is close to dying, if a parent is sick, going through the dying process, or even going through a will planning process. Everybody goes back. Very often when they're interacting with one another, they go back into regress states. And suddenly you're not dealing with an adult sister, you're dealing with a sister who was maybe a bratty 12-year-old or a frightened 5-year-old. And you're no longer the grown-up daughter either. You're also reacting to what's going on. And very often as adults, we go back into a defensive place, a defensive posture, using the behaviors that kept us safe when we were younger. So, for example, Rosemary, in your case, it might be that your mom, who looks like she's 90, but could very well be behaving like a 10-year-old, because anybody, if we're not dealing with our stuff, if we're not growing and evolving, going back and looking at the childhood patterns that need to be healed, we just take them right up into adulthood, and they become exaggerated as we get older, and especially as we get closer to death, because death is such a frightening experience. And in our country, in this culture, in the world, but particularly in this culture, in the Western culture, we don't honor the third and fourth stages of life. We glorify the childhood phase and the householder phase, which is the go out, earn a living, make your way in the world, build a career, be successful. We glorify a youth in our culture, and we don't honor the wisdom years, the years where we start to own the reality that we're not going to be here forever, and start to just deal more consciously with aging and with dying. And so because we don't value those periods in one's life, most people arrive at the end of their lives really, really frightened. And whenever any of us are frightened, we automatically tend to go into a regress state where we're suddenly not the grown-up. We are now, we're a much younger age. We become like children. So all of that to say, Rosemary, the real power that you're going to find in what feels like a powerless situation is the work that you'll do to deal with any of the childhood stuff that's coming up for you about your sister or your mother. It would be a great time to get into therapy, to have somebody wise and loving who can hold your hand through this process. I'm assuming that you're saying that your sister and your mother are behaving narcissistically. I don't know if you mean they actually have the mental health issue of being a narcissist, which is a different, whole different ballgame. But the only person you have control over in this situation is you. You don't have control over your sister, and you don't have control over the will. So, not that that doesn't mean that it's incredibly difficult. For example, if let's say you took care of your mom for many years, and maybe I remember one client in particular who took care of her mother. She was the last sibling alive, took care of her, the last of two siblings alive, took care of her mother, spent a lot of her money taking care of her mother, wasn't able to work a lot of the time, and when her mom died, a lot of the assets were left to the sister because her mother was in a regressed place and just ended up being a brat, being wounded and making that decision, and it left this client being in really tough financial shape. So you want to take care of yourself now, Rosemary. You want to recognize that, we can find peace without resolving issues with other people. Everybody needs to know that. We can find peace and healing and power, our own personal power, without ever having a conversation with anyone else. You never have to get anybody to do anything in order for you to find a place of peace within you. You just need to do your own work. You need to do your own healing work. And that usually means you need somebody outside of the system who can come in and work with you to help you feel more at peace. So I hope that's helpful, Rosemary, and I'm so sorry about the situation that you're in. Those situations are really, really hard. They just are. Okay, let me go back. I'm going to go back now to your questions. Yeah, thank you everybody for the hearts and the smiley faces. I bet everybody, I bet there's a lot of people here, Rosemary, who understand and know exactly what you're going through. So, welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're all here. Nancy, Sarah, Tisa, Tamara from Melbourne, welcome. Louise, hi Andrea, welcome. Judy, Rachel, thank you Rachel. Let's see, I'm just looking now for your questions because I went all the way back. Thank you, Jessica. Sherry says, how can you feel better about asking for help? Well, you know what, Sherry? Here's the first thing I want to say about that. It's really difficult to succeed in life, to succeed in a career, to succeed in building a business. It's hard to heal, to deal with difficult situations like Rosemary is dealing with. Without asking for help. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I'll coach business owners, and when they reach a point in their business where they have to start delegating, I'll say to them, well, you're going to hit a ceiling. And at this ceiling, it might feel like you're successful, and you may very well be, and you might be okay with the income that you're making or the number of clients you have or the number of products you're selling. But if you want to increase your level of success while decreasing your level of suffering and stress, you've got to get good at asking for help. So I find, Sherry, that the first thing I want to say to you, not the first thing, I already said the first thing, but what I want to say to you is, I love when people ask me for help. I mean, I'm doing Facebook Live for that reason. It makes me so happy to be able to be there for people. Especially makes me happy to be there for loved ones or people that I know, colleagues and friends, as much as I can, practicing good self-care. So sometimes it can be helpful, Sherry, to just recognize that asking someone for help is really giving them a gift. And I remember one of my first coaches, his name was Jay Perry, said to me, this is 25 years ago, he said, Cheryl, receiving is an act of generosity. That really stayed with me, obviously, 25 years later, and I'm still remembering it, Sherry. So your receiving is an act of generosity. I think that you just need to practice. Sometimes doing things that are scary or uncomfortable is like holding your nose and jumping into a cold pool. You just have to do it. And when you do it, when you ask for help and you have the experience of people receiving that request and supporting you and appreciating you for asking, then it gets easier. So don't wait until you feel better. Just do it. And start small. Start with little things. Today I came home and I purchased some trays for a big pot that I have on the deck, and it's holding a fern that I want to bring in the house. And I thought, okay, I can put the tray on the floor in the house, then I've got to go out, I've got to get the pot. The pot's really heavy. And I know I can do it because I'm a strong girl, but it's going to really suck trying to do it, Sherry. It just is. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask somebody for help. I'm going to ask my husband, Michael, who's like a weightlifter. He's like a big, strong guy. I thought, Cheryl, practice what you teach. Remember, it's the little things. Rather than muscling through, which I think a lot of us do, and especially women, like in-charge women who like to be in charge and like to be in control, we're so good at muscling through things. And we have to get even better at being vulnerable and soft and open and surrendered. And it's bringing in the feminine. And, so I knew as I was bringing the tray in for the pot, I thought, I'm going to give Michael a chance to use his muscles and support me, because I know he loves doing that. Simple little things. I mentioned that, Sherry, because it's a simple, easy way to begin asking for help. Don't muscle through things anymore. And don't do things alone. Especially don't do scary things alone. I promise you there are people just waiting to help you. And you just need to give them that gift. All right. And by the way, you asked me for help, Sherry, and I'd say you did pretty good. I appreciate that you asked. See that? One down for today. Keep it up, girl. Keep it up. Yeah, James. What are you making for dinner, James? I want to know. Here we go. Judy, I would like to start building a coaching career as I wind down my marketing career so that 2 to 3 years, in 1 to 2 to 3 years, I can devote myself to coaching exclusively. but part of me feels not good enough. I have a lot of my own issues. I've done counseling and I've been reading self-help and personal growth books practically my whole life. How can I possibly know how to help other people? Why should they even take me seriously? Well, you know, Judy, that's a great question, because God knows I totally have my act together. I'm completely healed. I'm cooked. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfect, and it's the only reason I'm here doing Facebook Live. Okay, how crazy does that sound? I remember early in my coaching career, Judy, I had a client who hired me, and he was a millionaire. He had a lot of money, and I was not a millionaire. I did not have a lot of money. I was working, I was doing outplacement consulting, helping people who were being laid off from their jobs. I was doing some speaking, although I wasn't being paid for it yet. I was developing my speaking career. And you know, I was just building my practice. I was just getting by. And I remember saying to my coach, as soon as this client hired me, I said to my coach, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" He said, "What's the matter?" I said, "This man just hired me and he's like a millionaire, and I don't even know how I'm going to like pay the rent. Like, I'm really scared about that." And he said to me, "You don't have to be a millionaire to do great coaching. You just have to love people." Now that sounds really simplistic, and there was a lot more to it than that. And Judy, I went on to enroll in a 3-year coach training program. At the time it was Coach University, and it was a very extensive, involved coach training program. You could either study to be a personal coach, a business coach, or a master coach, which combined the two, and I went the master track because I was so passionate about coaching, and I just wanted to read everything I could, learn everything I could about coaching people really well. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't already helping people, Judy. I was somebody that people often turn to for guidance and support. I knew how to listen. I cared about people. I could offer an objective perspective. I was a good sounding board. And I think coach training is vitally important. I think that it's really, not only because it's important for you as a professional to know what you're doing, but also because when I enrolled in coach training, I became a much better coach. I was already helping people, but I became really, really good at helping people once I started training. And that's what excited me. I was able to be even more effective with people. So I would say that you're really smart to start thinking about it now. And here's the best thing I would recommend you, Judy. Hire a coach. I would go to the International Coach Federation's website at coachfederation.org. As a matter of fact, I should write this down. Hold on, people, because I always forget. I want to make sure that I write down the resources that I give so I can post them afterwards. So the ICF, the International Coach Federation, it's coachfederation.org. Read all you can about coaching, Judy. Take a look at the training organizations. If any of those training organizations offer free classes, start taking them and hire a coach and work with a coach to support you through the transition, to also support you in making the decision about training, about how best to become a coach. I would encourage you to look for ideally an ICF trained coach, a ICF certified coach. So there's master certified coaches and professional certified coaches. And the reason I say that is because if you're taking this seriously and you're getting good training, you want to be working towards certification. I say that because as a leader in the profession, I like to really promote coaches who take it seriously, get good training, get certified, go through what it takes to be certified. And so that's the kind of coach I'd want you coaching with if in fact you're exploring the profession of coaching, okay? So, and everything that you've done, the counseling that you've done, I started counseling at 19 years old. That was a long time ago. It was some of the best work I ever did, and so much of my therapy has made me a great coach because I know when to recommend therapy versus coaching. I'm not afraid of people who are in tough emotional places. I know what it's like to be there. All of the reading that you've done, the personal growth books, all of that is going to really serve you well. And now you can begin to explore it even more seriously. And when you take it seriously, Judy, when you take becoming a coach seriously, when you take whatever passion it is that's driving you to explore this, when you take that seriously, you won't even be thinking about whether or not other people will take you seriously, because what you'll really be thinking about is how you can use your passion to really help people change their lives. Okay? How's that, girl? There you go. All right, let's see. Pamela says, when things don't seem to work out, are we to work through it, or is it an indication to go in another direction? Well, that's a loaded question, Pamela, because without knowing the details of that, I'm not sure that I could give you, I'm not sure I could give you sort of appropriate coaching, but I would say this. In my own life, when doors consistently get closed in a direction that I'm headed, and I see that things get like just hard or consistently hard, or if there's any like drama, I mean, to me, that's a big thing, big indication. If I'm moving in a certain direction and there's drama involved, that's when I usually know, okay, go in another direction. Maybe the answer, Pamela, is either way is fine. What matters is how you grow and evolve as you go through it. So if things just aren't working out, if you come up against a roadblock once or twice and you can benefit from attempting to work around that, great, work around it and see what happens. If you keep getting a door slammed in your face, then try another direction and see if things become easier in that direction. And if they do, that might be an indication that that's the way you want to go. Talk about I'm trying to it feels like that answer is sort of riding the fence, but that's because I don't have enough information and I want to just be responsible with how I support that. So here we go. So Paige says, I've struggled with depression for years, was doing better. Now physical health is declining. I probably need another surgery. How can I not isolate while recuperating? This is great, Paige. So a couple of things. So first of all, sweetheart, if you've struggled with depression for years and it's been a struggle, if you haven't gotten help, please get help. Please get help. Because life is meant to be lived. It's not meant to be suffered through. So I don't know what the answer is to that, but please make sure that you get help. And I always say help from great therapists who specialize in working with depression, psychologists or psychiatrists who do a combination of therapy and medicine, because sometimes medicine is needed. And sometimes you need medication just to get yourself to the place where you can actually do the therapeutic work or the exercise or the eating right that is certainly going to benefit your depression. What's great about your question, Paige, is you're thinking about it now rather than waiting until surgery. So I would really recommend that you come clean about your concerns and your fear right now. You put a therapist in place if you can, just as insurance against depression, and you identify 2 or 3 people that you actually invite to be in charge of your commitment to not isolate. So you let them know, here's the issues I'm having with my health, here's the surgery that I'm going to be having. I'm concerned about my tendency toward isolating when physically things aren't well, and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to kind of be just a steward for my mental health. Just check in with me once a week, maybe come and visit, set it up ahead of time, Paige, so that you've got people in place and you invite them to support you, even if it's, come over and play cribbage or chess, or come over and watch a favorite show together. As long as you're taking responsibility for yourself and your health and your mental health as well, I think that people naturally want to be supportive and helpful. It's when people aren't taking care of themselves. Now, sometimes you can't, because if you're dealing with depression, it's tricky. And I'm not a therapist. That's not a coaching issue. It's a therapy issue. But I would really recommend that you just get some help in place ahead of time so that you're not worried about the isolating. So just think of it as insurance against isolation. Okay. Linda, I don't know who to contact about that, but I bet if you went to John of God's website, you would find out. Hey, Mark, thank you so much. Vanessa, welcome. Barbara. James, I think I saw that you're cooking chicken and something, James. Oh, thank you for posting the John of God website. There you go. You all are so helpful to each other, and I think that's really sweet and kind. Let's see. So Alicia says, hi, Cheryl. I find myself going into an old pattern of being the one who's the bridesmaid and never the bride. Any thoughts on this? All wisdom is appreciated. Great seeing you doing this. So needed. Well, Alicia, what does that mean? Does that mean that, like, are you going to a wedding? Are you feeling like you're supporting everybody around you and partnering, but you're not doing it? What does that mean, girl? I think I want to say that for the most part, I really love being married. Sometimes it's hard. If Michael were here, he'd say the same thing. But you know, I totally am like the marriage type, and I really appreciate spending my life with somebody and working through things with somebody, and I'm grateful that I have a husband who does that. I don't think I could have been ready for a marriage like this, and Michael and I will have been married 20 years next month. We're celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary. We've been together almost 25. And I really needed to do some work, Alicia, on being prepared to be in a committed relationship. So I was out of a relationship for quite some time, was in therapy, was looking at the history of relationships I had, the patterns in those relationships, and how I got into trouble, who I was choosing for partners and why, what kind of healing work needed to be done. And so I'm wondering, Alicia, if the shift from being the bridesmaid to the bride is about you, is the inner work, first and foremost, preparing yourself to be able to meet somebody and sustain a really good, healthy relationship. And then if you read, I think it's in The Unmistakable Touch of Grace. In that book, I write about meeting my husband, Michael, and I write about the fact that I, made an ideal profile of, I kind of mapped out the man that I wanted to meet. I included him on a treasure map that I had done. I'd done treasure mapping for 15 or 20 years. It really works, people. Like, I just was looking at one of my treasure maps last week looking at one of my old ones going, my God, if I had known beyond a shadow of a doubt that what I put on this map would occur in my life, I would have done it long ago. I mean, it was amazing what happened. So I worked on a profile of my ideal partner. I put pictures of my ideal partner on a treasure map and put pictures of myself in a relationship, and so in a wedding dress, things like that. So those are sort of the outer preparation, but all of that came after the inner preparation, and I think that's how you can make that transition from being the bridesmaid to the bride. And I got married later in life. I got married in my 30s, not in my 20s. So, and I'm really glad I did. I'm so glad I waited. For me, I'm just glad because by the time I got married, I really knew what I was looking for, and so did my husband. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. Let's see. Let's see. So Nancy says, disowned by my mom again at age 54. I'm so sorry. Angry I don't trust her after not attending my college graduation, my wedding, my first child's birth. Sent 15 moving boxes of my belongings to my apartment and told friends I'd not told her where I was after college. How to find forgiveness and make healthy boundaries. Well, boy, that's a lot, Nancy. I hope you've been in therapy, because there's no way in hell I'd be able to deal with that without the support of a good therapist. That's really important. Just because somebody gives us life, or just because we share blood with somebody, doesn't mean that we're guaranteed a good relationship or that we should be in a relationship. And so that said, it is deeply painful to be to be disowned or abandoned by our family of origin. What I can say, Nancy, Sonia, is that you must have a pretty big soul who took on this assignment, and clearly you're up for it. But please don't do this alone. You can't find forgiveness until you do the grief work. And I suspect it happens in stages, you know, where we grieve and we forgive a little, and we grieve more and we forgive a little more. We grieve, we set healthy boundaries. And I wouldn't even, it wouldn't be responsible of me to even talk to you about the kinds of boundaries to set with your mom. I don't know how she's interacting with you now, but it wouldn't be responsible without, if I were coaching you, I'd say you need to be in therapy, and working with your therapist on the best kind of boundaries around your mom is going to be really important. You'll get through this, Nancy, Sonia, and as long as you, excuse me, as long as you deal with it with open eyes and an open heart. Forgiveness comes in stages over time. And so sometimes we want to jump to forgiveness because it just feels so uncomfortable to carry the anger or the frustration or the rage or the deep grief and sadness. But that's not going to take it away. Working through it is what's going to take it away. And most importantly, Nancy, Sonia, working through it is going to provide you with new levels of skills and gifts and wisdom and insight that will take your whole life to another level. So your mother, think of it this way, your mother and her own her dysfunction, which I promise you is born of pain. It doesn't excuse it, however, but it's born of pain. Her woundedness that's created this behavior is your spiritual assignment. And if you take it on and decide that I'm going to get a PhD in healing and I'm going to learn everything I can possibly learn to become a more awake, evolved, authentic, loving, forgiving human being, then she will turn out to be your greatest gift. And I promise you, if you do that work, there will come a day where you'll want to thank her. Whether you do or not is a whole different story, but you'll want to thank her because you took what she gave you and you made lemonade. You know, I was listening last week to Beyonce's Lemonade. If you've not seen her film, the film of Lemonade and the album Lemonade, Nancy, Sonia, I would recommend that you listen to that because it's a powerful healing journey. The music is amazing. Her voice is amazing. The emotions, you know, she's going through this journey of dealing with, the album is a journey of dealing with infidelity, deep betrayal, loss, anger, rage, pain. And it starts out and it comes through the healing where you hear, I think it's her grandmother, I'm not sure, but you hear this wise old woman say that when life handed her lemons, she made lemonade. And it's such a beautiful, when I listen to that whole album, I see it as such a beautiful example of the human journey through loss and pain, through redemption. And so I would recommend that to you as well. And I'm going to add you and Paige and Pamela, everyone that I've spoken to, Paige, Pamela, and Nancy, Sonia, and Rosemary, to my prayer book. My prayer book. You're in there, girl. And I hope that you find the forgiveness you're looking for, but give it time. Give it time. Let's see. So Kathleen says, 60-ish sister has 2 adult children, 30s and 40s, living off of her and not taking responsibility for their lives. She won't put her foot down. I've suggested therapy and Al-Anon. She doesn't do anything, but is stressed trying to support everyone. Any advice? Yes, Kathleen, here's what you do. You tell your sister, I love you. So we're going to call your sister Jane. Now let's come up with something sexier than that. Victoria. Let's call your sister Victoria, Kathleen. And you're going to say to Victoria, Victoria, I love you. And you know I've told you all along that, I wish that things were different between you and your 2 adult children. But you know what I've realized? It's not my business, it's yours. So here's the deal. I am willing to support you in finding the help you need to deal with this situation, but I'm no longer willing to listen to you complain about it. So if you're upset, if you're frustrated, if you need somebody to complain to or to bitch at, you'll need to find someone else. But if you want support, to find a good therapist or somebody who's specifically skilled in helping adults deal with their adult children, I am first in line. So I'm saying this to you, Victoria, because I love you and our relationship is important to me. And I find myself feeling frustrated and almost like I want to avoid you. And I don't want to do that. I want us to be sisters and I want us to be friends. And so therefore, I can't hear your pain about it anymore. It's too hard for me. So I'm just setting that boundary. I look forward to us spending time together. And I also want you to know this, Victoria. There's a good chance you're going to forget this conversation, but don't worry. Because if you start, talking about the kids and what they're doing, I'll gently and lovingly remind you that I'm here to provide you with support in terms of finding a therapist, but I can't listen to it. Now, Kathleen, she is going to forget it. You are going to need to set that boundary. But here's the thing. Every time you listen to her complain about her kids, you allow her to remove the anxiety she has about her kids from her body, dump it into you, and then she's freed up to take on more. Unfortunately, human beings usually make changes when they have enough pain. I'd like to think that we make changes moving towards pleasure, as Tony Robbins talks about, but most of us don't. Most people wait till things get really uncomfortable, and then they make a change. You keep making it easier for her if you listen to her complain about them. So you want to set the boundary, set it with love. Notice my tone. Victoria, I love you, and I love you're my sister. I want us to have a good time together. And I can't listen to the pain that you're going through about your kids because all I want to do is tell you to do something about it. And clearly that's not a good thing either. So instead, you and I are going to get together and have fun, or to hang out and watch movies, whatever, have a glass of wine, drink a cup of tea. And but if you decide that it gets to be too much and you really want things to change, please let me know and I will be more than happy to help you find a good therapist. Boom. Leave it at that. Drop it. Don't debate it. Don't over-explain it, and don't defend it. You just simply, in a charge-neutral tone, lovingly, kindly set the boundary and then keep setting it, Kathleen. Now, she may find somebody else to go complain to, and you know what? That's okay as long as she's not doing it to you. We all have the soul, each one of us has a soul's path that we're walking. I don't know yours, Kathleen. You don't know mine. I don't know your sister's. I don't know my husband Michael's soul's path. I only can respond to, be present for, pay attention to my own soul's path. So what's your soul's path, Kathleen, is to take care of yourself. Maybe she's in your life to teach you how to set boundaries and how to harness the empathy that you have and put it to good use in places where people are ready to receive it. She might need to go through this suffering for reasons that you just will never understand, sweetheart. And I know, I'm very empathetic. I just had a conversation with a family member earlier today about how hard it is to see people in pain and not be able to do anything. It sucks. But it's not my job to take people's pain away. It's my job to support people who want to be supported and to bless people and move on or set boundaries with people who don't. So I hope that's helpful. All right, let's see. Great. Yeah. Let's see, I'm just sort of scrolling through. How do you not feel guilty about asking for help? I can ask, but feel guilty about it too. So it's not about how do you not feel guilty, Eva. It's how can you learn to be with your guilt? How can you learn to be with it? You know what I do sometimes? I imagine guilt as a little buddy, and I put my arm around the guilt, and I go, oh, hi, there you are. Usually when you show up, it means I'm doing something that's good for me because I don't have a lot of practice doing that over the years. So you know what? I'm glad you're here. You're a symbol You're a signal to me that I'm on the right track. So thank you for being here. And then you know what happens, Eva? A lot of times when we embrace the guilt, when we welcome it in, when we see it as a friend that's letting us know we just did something that was probably good for us, like asking for help, it tends to lose its power. It's not as strong. It doesn't stick around as long. And, and it doesn't torture us in some way. So you want to embrace the guilt. And remember this, guilt exists for a good reason. When you do something wrong, you should feel guilty and you should fix it. Asking for help is never doing anything wrong. It's just not. So the next time you feel guilty, you just stop and say to yourself, Eva, darling, have you done something wrong? And you'll know whether or not the answer is yes or no. And if the answer is no, I haven't done anything wrong. Oh, okay, then you know what? Your guilt might just be an indication that you've tried something new that's actually in your best interest. Let's celebrate that. Okay? There you go. Hope that's helpful, Eva. Yes, Teresa, I reckon you absolutely can get in my prayer book. You have a kidney stone, and they found something else on the scan. The scan that they did. All is well. Yes, Teresa, I am putting you in my my prayer book, darling. Absolutely. And also, Teresa, if you have a naturopath in your area, there are some things that there are some natural support that can be really, really good for kidney stones. So that it's probably another kidney stone they found. They just haven't identified it yet. But a good naturopath who's also experienced with homeopathy and things like that can support you with the kidney stones too. The only reason I say that is I have a very dear friend of mine who's a fantastic naturopath. And she just the other day, it came up, something about kidney stones. She was talking about, I was talking about a friend who had kidney stones or something. And she said, oh, geez, they should take such and such. I forget what it was, because it creates something in the body that helps to disintegrate the kidney stones. I'm not getting any of that accurate, Teresa, but if you've got somebody nearby, check that out. I think it could be helpful. Hey, Jake. Welcome. Thank you, Jake. And Kelly Olson, my 23-year-old stepson brought home his first girlfriend. Why do I feel weird about this? He doesn't live with us right now. Well, Kelly, that's so sweet. Do you feel weird about it because you really love him and it's strange that he now has a girlfriend? Or do you feel weird about it because you don't like her? Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go with my intuition here. And I have a memory of my mom, my sweet mom, years ago, like probably 30 years ago, 35 years ago. My brother Bob, who is a sweetheart. I have two brothers, Stephen and Bob. They're both sweethearts in different ways. And Bob was younger, the younger brother. He was, my mother had 7 children. He was the 6th son. And I remember when he brought home his first girlfriend. I just have this memory, Kelly. He brought home his first girlfriend. And my mother is so wise in ways she just doesn't even understand. My mother had this kind of attitude toward her. She was this beautiful young girl and clearly loved my brother. My brother was just gaga over her. And my mother just sort of had this attitude toward her. And I remember that I was talking to my mom about it at one point. And I'm like, Mom, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know. I don't know if I like her. And I'm like, well, she seems really lovely. And, what's going on? And my mother said, my mother was so honest and vulnerable. And she said to me, I guess I just feel kind of sad because he's like my little boy. And I just love him so much. And I'm so used to I'm just used to our relationship. And I'm afraid now that relationship's going to change because he's found a girlfriend, that somehow my little boy's going to move away, and that's really what was happening was he wasn't a little boy, he was in his early 20s as well, but her boy was now becoming a man, and the discomfort she was feeling, of course, the minute she said that to me, then we both were like, oh, and I remember her just saying to me, oh, for crying out loud, I had no idea this is what was going on, and now I understand, and her attitude towards the girlfriend changed completely. So I'm wondering if that's it, Kelly, that it just feels kind of weird, like, oh, your little stepson is now, I mean, he's not little, he's 23, but your stepson is now sort of making a transition. And what does that mean for you and your transition? I don't know. I'm going to go with that without more information. I hope it's helpful. But just explore it. Like, let yourself feel weird about it. Embrace that. I wonder what this is about. And is there somebody safe in your life that you can talk to about it? Don't talk to him about it, because it's not good boundaries. But somebody safe, you know, a spouse, friend, close friend, and just ask them to listen while you literally do this. You know, I feel weird about my stepson's girlfriend because just have somebody just present, hold space for you while you keep repeating that and allow whatever occurs to you to come out. And I bet you'll figure out what's going on. All right, good luck, Kelly. James is cooking chicken and cilantro and lime rice with black beans and veggies and steamed asparagus. Oh my God, that sounds awesome, James. Can I come for dinner? Sounds really good. I love that. There you go. Let's see. Cheryl says, what if you're an empath and helping drains your own goals? Well, you need to be an empath with good self-care. I'm an empath with good self-care, so I actually am fueled by caring for people because I only do it when I've got the energy to do it. So it might be that there's some good self-care that needs to be practiced there, Cheryl, so that you're able to do that. Let's see. Oh, yes. So Mary Carmen says, when I met you at Louise Hay's birthday party, I asked you for the best advice you can tell me in coaching. And you wrote it in my notebook, love your clients. It's true. Oh, and you know, I was going to say that. Thank you for saying that, Marie Carmen. Earlier in the Facebook Live session, I talked about how my coach said, when I said, oh my God, this person's just hired me who's a millionaire, and I'm not a millionaire, how can I coach that person? He said, you don't need to be a millionaire, you just need to love your clients. What I wanted to say about that was, here we are 25 years later, I've coached thousands and thousands of people, and what I've come to understand and to really appreciate is that it really is about loving people. It's about giving a shit. It's about showing up and being present and listening and caring and listening more and inviting people to just show up in a safe place. It's loving them. And love itself, the energy of love transforms people. As woo-woo as that sounds, I use that in some pretty significant business settings and it works like a charm. So, all right, let's see. So Rachel says, Cheryl, I currently live in a city where I have a lot of extended family whom I love, but with that said, I don't always want to go to every event or get together they have for various reasons. You've taught me so much about practicing good self-care. I've learned that sometimes it's okay to say no when I need to, but I find I still feel guilty over saying no, I can't go sometimes. Like maybe I'm being rude by saying no and not going, or people will think there's something wrong with me. And then it cut off there, Rachel. So Rachel, those are all about your own stories in your head, right? Sometimes it can be really helpful to start letting extended family know. And I find myself wanting to do this the older I get and the more I really sort of covet my time. Letting extended family know how much you love them, how much you just so appreciate the fact that they're in your environment, and that while just saying things like, while I'm not always able to attend events for various reasons, please always remember how much I love you and how much I care about you. So I think that sometimes that general message can be delivered in different ways over and over again. I also think that sometimes it's okay for us to begin to teach people about the kind of self-care that we practice in our lives. I'll give you an example. If I'm invited to go to big parties where there's going to be lots of people and probably superficial chit-chat, people close to me know that I'm not somebody who really tends to go to big, loud, noisy parties. So I might let family members and friends know, you know what, it's just not my thing. Doesn't mean I don't love you, and it doesn't mean I don't want to see you. As a matter of fact, I'd rather have dinner with you one-on-one or in a small group. But big parties aren't my thing, or noisy restaurants aren't my thing, or not being able to have meaningful conversation is really hard. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't go to family events, like, go to a cookout where I get to see everybody and just kind of hang out and have fun. I pick and choose when I do that, and I do try to go when a lot of my family members, let's say if I'm going to a family event, if a lot of them are going, then I do try to make a point to go to some of those so I can see everybody that I haven't seen. But a lot of what you've said here, Rachel, really is about you, you being comfortable with your choices and your decisions. I talked about guilt earlier, so go back and listen to what I said about guilt if you weren't here, seeing it as a signal that you're probably taking good care of yourself. It's not being rude if you say no with grace and love, and you let people know why. And also, just pay attention to the stories that you're telling yourself in your head. Because you know what, Rachel? Here's the funny news. The reality is, a lot of times, when we don't show up at big events, people don't even notice anymore because they're busy, they may feel sad when you say you can't go, but they're just too busy having a great time. They're not sitting there going, where's Rachel? Oh, I can't believe Rachel isn't here. This party sucks without Rachel. This dinner just isn't the same. I'm really upset Rachel isn't here. They're having a good time, sweetheart. 9 times out of 10, I promise you that's what they're doing. All right, let's see. I'm just scrolling through, looking at your questions. Yeah, thank you, James, thank you. James is so sweet for providing. You all are so great to each other. To love life. Rosanna says, hi, 3 top ways to perhaps attract clients. Any resources out there for that? Yeah, I don't know what kind of clients, Rosanna. When I started coaching, my coach had me make a list of 25 people that I felt that I could really make a difference for in their lives, and it offered to coach them for 3 months for free. And the only thing I asked in exchange was that they treated it as if it was paid coaching. They showed up in time for the call. They worked their butts off, and if it worked for them and they got value, they told other people about it. And that's how I did it. And that's actually how I began my practice. The first 3 people I asked said yes, absolutely. The next one said no, and I felt rejected and didn't ask anybody for a couple of weeks until my coach said, cut it out. Keep working that list. The next 2 people I asked said yes, and I was off and running. I had a job while I was building the practice, and it took me 2 years to build a referral-generated practice where I no longer had to do marketing. I always had a wait list. 2 years of coaching. A full practice for me was like 25 clients, and so that was one of the best ways that I found to attract clients, was to just take the clients that I was working with already and take really, really good care of them. And always just letting people know when I had openings. The other thing I did was I held a free coaching gathering once a month. I invited my clients, this is when I was coaching a lot in person, invited clients to join me and to bring any friends or family. I would cover a topic of the week, and at the end of the evening, I would simply just say, there are 2 spaces available in my coaching practice, or 1 space, or 3, whatever the case may be. And if anybody is interested in learning more, if anybody's interested in possibly working with me individually or learning more about coaching, please see me after. And that always kept my practice full in the beginning as well. So, and nowadays you can do things virtually, Skype, over the phone, whatever. Hopefully that will help. That will provide you with some support. Let's see. I love reading all your comments. You all are just, hi Cheryl, Delfino. I remember you, sweetheart. Yeah, I'm looking at, God, lots of Cheryls here today. Cheryl Gutenberg. Okay. Judy says, my husband was let go without cause from his last 2 jobs. He was not provided any reasons at all, and he's taking it very hard. Any suggestions on how I can help him get through it? Yeah, Judy, what I would say is if you can get him to work with a career coach, and I'm going to recommend, I've recommended somebody before, just because I know somebody, and I know she works over the phone. Her name is Jessica Sweet. And I'm just opening my book up here because I'm going to put, I'll put her contact information in the post when I'm done. Jessica Sweet. And I know Kathy or Lee, somebody will look up her website. I'll put it on, but it's like wellness coaching, but I can't remember the actual URL, but I'll put it on the post. Judy, here's what's important. When a spouse or partner has been let go, and this comes from my old career coaching days when I used to do outplacement consulting, which means I would coach people who were laid off from their jobs or let go from their jobs. So it's a very special kind of work because what happens is the spouse or the partner is dealing with their own issues, like, oh my God, what are we going to do about the loss of income? How am I going to help my partner to get a job? How am I going to help them to stay motivated? How am I going to deal with the emotional fallout, which is what you're faced with? And you're not the right person to do that. As a matter of fact, you'll do more harm than good 9 times out of 10. So what's great is that you've come here to ask for my support for yourself and for him. So Judy, the best thing you can do for him is get him some support. I'm recommending Jessica Sweet because she's also a therapist. She's a younger woman, but she's smart. And she can help him deal with the emotional piece. I dealt with so many men in this situation back when I did outplacement work because I was dealing with a lot of executives at the time, quite frankly. And a lot of them would wind up just really distraught from being let go. Now, the problem with companies is because of all the legal issues involved in letting people go, companies are really limited as to what they can say when they let people go. Particularly if they're in any situation, whether they're being fired or laid off or whatever, because they're afraid of lawsuits. So unfortunately, that leaves your husband making up stories in his head about what happened, and I guarantee you those stories are not accurate and they're not good. So he needs to get support from somebody who can help him reverse engineer both of those situations and also just look at what he needs to do to prepare for the next job search so that he's not disabled, emotionally disabled by this experience. And getting somebody who's worked through that with somebody. I don't know if Jessica, I'm assuming that she has, given the work that she does, but if she hasn't, she'll refer him to somebody good who has. I used to have a great career coach, Dan King, that I often referred people to. Would have referred you to him as well, but he's just retired, and I'm so mad at him. Not really mad at him, but he handled this stuff all the time. So, but Jessica will be a good resource for him. She can work over the phone, and Judy, you can tell him that you and I spoke, and I said, I have worked with men just like you. Judy, you need to get your own support, and then he needs to get his own support, and you guys will be back on track in no time, I promise. Jane, how often do you do this live coach on call? Random or set days? I do it once a week. I don't do it at set days just yet. I'm thinking I actually would love to do Sunday nights. As a matter of fact, will you all let me know, like post a comment if a Sunday, like say around 6 o'clock, Eastern time would work, because that would be ideal for me, like 5 or 6 o'clock on Sundays. But I'm curious as to how that would be for people. So if it would work, would you just put a comment, yes on Sundays, or you can put if there's another different time that would be better, let me know, because then I can kind of work it around what the consensus is, and that would be helpful, because I would like to do it on the same time every day. I think it's helpful for people because you just get used to it. With my schedule lately, I haven't been able to do that. So, okay, you know what? We're coming up on 7 o'clock, so let me just... So Alice says, let me just say, developed shingles 2 days ago. Does shingles appear because of certain trapped emotions possibly? don't know about that, Alice, but shingles is often related to stress, and stress that is stress period, low immune system, maybe need more sleep, more rest. Also, I think I would tap on the stress related to shingles, or I'm sorry, tap on the shingles. Even though I have these shingles, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Even though my body is expressing its stress with shingles, I deeply and profoundly love and accept my body. Even though I've developed shingles and I don't know why, I'm open to divine wisdom and insight now. Like, you can work with some of those, Alice. Anything that you can do to calm the body down, to really explore what kind of stress might be going on. Maybe talk to somebody, a good friend, and just ask them to just be present as you know, listen as you just say, what I feel stressed about is, just keep repeating, so that you drop down into what might be going on. That's going to help the shingles to clear up more quickly. And shingles are just the body's way of saying, hi, need your attention, something going on here, feeling a little stressed, need some more rest, need some more love and cherishing and comfort by yourself and by others. Maybe you need a foot massage, maybe you need some good food, anything to just give your being more nourishment is going to really help the shingles. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Any idea when the Self-Care by the Sea registration for October will be opening? Yes, Joanna. So glad you asked. This time we're calling it Healthcare by the Sea because we're focused all on health, healing, loving, falling in love with the body. That's what I want this retreat to be about, falling in love with the body by looking at emotional, physical, and spiritual health. I've got a great gal that's going to be joining me, Susan Dowdy, who's a women's health nurse practitioner. She's been doing it for 3 decades. She's just an amazing, amazing woman. The kind of doctor everybody would want, the kind of nurse practitioner everybody would want. And so the registration will be opening. You want to go to the website, get on the wait list, because everybody on the wait list will get notification this week and they'll be able to register. So if you go to CherylRichardson.com, right on the homepage, you'll see the Self-Care by the Sea retreat. Click on that. Just get yourself on the wait list. It's probably going to go out on Thursday. The email to everybody on the wait list. You'll be able to register first because a lot of those people have been waiting a long time. And then the open enrollment will be announced next Sunday night when the newsletter goes out, my weekly newsletter. So be sure that you're subscribed to the newsletter. You can go right up there. Look up there. See the sign up blue button? So you can sign up right there and at CherylRichardson.com. Make sure that you, especially if you have Gmail, because a lot of people with Gmail are having trouble, make sure that you whitelist me, that you make me your friend so that you're able to get my emails, and registration will open for everybody the beginning of next week. Okay? All right, well, there you have it. And I'll put that information too, Joanna, on the post that I do here. Thank you, everybody, once again for being here. Really appreciate it. And remember, let me know when would be a good time to make these Facebook Lives a regularly scheduled show, as they say. Would Sundays work? And if not, tell me what day would and what time, and I'll take a look at all of that. All right? Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you for all your love, and thank you for being here. And James, one of these days we have to have dinner. All right, everybody. Love you very much. Take good care. Bye.